Oliver Williams says, I am working on my dissertation for university. I am doing a project on what makes a character other than the actor. What makes a character other than the actor? Well, the writing. but what makes a character other than the actor? Well, the actions that character performs, right? Yeah. What makes a character? And you're asking me, what about my experiences? I'm not sure I really understand the question, Oliver. What makes a character other than the actor? Do you mean a character worth watching? Because that's one thing. Or a character that feels authentic to the world that they are in, whether it's comic books or movies or television? That's another question. Do you mean a compelling? Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that question. I can tell there's an interesting conversation in there, but I feel like I want you to ask that question in a slightly different way. I'm all about character and plot. And I mean, I was just telling Norma, we're watching Midsommar for the second time this month. And I was like telling Norma about it, and I'm like, I don't love horror movies. I'm not into creeping dread. I tried to watch Hereditary. That's not my jam. It's so well made. It's beautiful. Toni Collette is a bloody genius. Just that kind of creepy dread horror, not my jam. Midsommar, so much my jam. And I'm amazed to tell you that I watched it a month ago, and my wife and I were like, that is an amazing movie. We told everyone we know, you got to see this movie. They're like, it's an old movie. Like, it takes us a while to get around to stuff sometimes. And then the other day, she's like, I want to watch Midsommar again. She put it on, and we just finished it again last night. And it's even better the second time. There's a lot about it that you miss on the first pass. And all of the characters are really well laid out in this movie. The actors are fantastic. Florence Pugh is a bloody genius. She's just so natural. It's shocking. I love the arc of a character realizing that they are up to the challenge of the story. That is my favorite arc. That is my favorite arc. The hero or heroine that realizes that they do possess the skills to tackle the main task of the narrative. Nothing's better than that. It's all Raiders to me. And I fully agree with Sheldon's assertion of the plot of Raiders. But yeah, that person whose weird skill set makes them uniquely qualified for the adventure at hand. There's a great Raymond Chandler quote in which he says, the detective story has to be a story of one man's search for adventure. He wrote it in the 50s. He said, man. One man's search for adventure, and it would be no adventure if it did not happen to a man fit for adventure. That's such a beautiful turn of phrase. Our heroes, our heroines, I always want them to be that. The adventure is exciting because that character is fit for that adventure. Did you ever see Enough? One of the great Jennifer Lopez movies ever made. Seriously. Billy Campbell is the villain. Noah Wyle shows up as an also villainous type, and Jennifer Lopez is a person who falls for the wrong guy, and he turns out to be awful. And unlike almost all other movies, she does not, the moment she realizes he's awful, it's like Sleeping with the Enemy. She doesn't make another mistake. He's a very tenacious villain, but like, there's none of that, like, why are you going into the basement? Can't you hear that music? There's none of that crap going on. I love the movie Enough. One of my favorite thrillers. Okay, Oliver, sorry I wasn't being very detailed with the question. I meant in terms of props. What makes a prop like a character without, in terms of, Oh, okay. So I'm going to assume that your question is about how do you make a prop that feels like it is in the world you have put it in? And this could be, for a 1950s period piece, a really easy thing to do, or if you're in a Wachowski brothers film, a really difficult thing to do. And I mean that with all affection, because the Wachowskis create really weird and bizarre and amazing worlds, from The Matrix to Jupiter Ascending. Making props that feel like they are in the world for the Wachowskis is a different task than it is for, let's say Robert Zemeckis. But what makes a prop work in that space is that it feels like it is properly. I always like props that are like icebergs. Like you see a little bit of it, but the prop itself is letting you know that there's this whole other thing going on below the surface. The Blade Runner blaster, honestly, is one of the great props in movies to me, because its design is both so sort of working class and yet ever so slightly futuristic. Like, it is the sidearm that hits that sweet spot between familiar and unfamiliar. It feels familiar enough, that it's not like some super fancy gun, but it's weird enough that it contributes to your suspension of disbelief within the world that Ridley Scott has created. I hope that was an answer to your question. One more? We started 10 minutes late. Yeah, okay. Jakub Fabiziak. I think I got the first name right. I used to live next door to Jakub, a wonderful artist. Anyway, Jakub says, any chance of recreating Sapper's kit from Blade Runner 2049? Hold on just a second. You mean this thing? I should do a show and tell on this for real. The guys that made this, and it was used by the film, it is a product. They sent this to me, the guys who made this, and it's beautiful. I will do a separate show and tell about it because it's really great, and I don't want to get anything wrong right now. I love Sapper Morton. I love his whole kit. That knife that he uses is off-the-shelf items. No, and so, sorry, Jakub's last question is, if they're off-the-shelf items, does that kill the enthusiasm or interest for you? No, it doesn't. What's interesting to me, though, is that I have actually filled this with what I need in a first aid kit. I actually made this a real first aid kit for me with stuff that I would use. So, like, a striking flint and some ace bandages and some wedges and some splints, and I got some AA batteries in there. Yeah, this is definitely like a field survival kit for me. I covered Sapper Morton's beautiful helmet replica that I purchased, and my making of that linkage. We'll include a link to that video in the description. And it is my plan to finish Sapper Morton's entire suit from the opening of Blade Runner 2049. When I'm going to get to that is a really good question, and I don't have the answer. I've actually found the fabric that I want to use, and it is an interesting choice because I think the costume's going to be actually quite comfortable to wear. So, yes, I am going to recreate Sapper Morton's whole thing. Probably not his costume, simply because I'm so physically impossibly different than Dave Bautista. I have met him. I have spent time around him. He is one of the loveliest, sweetest people I have ever met. Shaking hands with him feels like someone's handing you a bunch of bananas. He is a wonderful actor to watch working. I got to watch him do stunt work right up close, which was itself like ballet with his stunt team. And I got to actually act across from him on a couple of occasions when I went to the Blade Runner set. And you know what someone gives you when you're doing that? Like, I am not an actor. The idea of doing that in a film with the cameras rolling and everyone terrifies me. I know that's, yeah, totally terrifies me. And so when someone can do it and find their like quiet space and you're watching them do that, it's really, really thrilling. Being on a movie set and watching the actors do their thing is a real treat. And watching Bautista go was that. Really, like he took his time. It was wonderful to watch him go. So yeah, Sapper Morton, absolutely. It's funny. It's like I'll replicate his big suit because I can hide in there. I'm going to have bigger shoulders on it and everything. But as far as replicating his costume for the fight scene with Ryan Gosling, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I love this thing. And I'm pleased to have it as both a prop replica and useful item for me. But I don't think this will be part of a Sapper Morton costume that I'll build. Does that cover everything? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.